welcome to FPL Selection. We're back for the new season and we're looking at today's Game Week 1 drafts. And the first draft here is going to be a bench boost in Game Week 1. I think it's nice to get it out of the way in the first week, so you're not sort of setting up for it later in the season, letting it dictate, too much of who you pick on your wild card. I think sometimes you can get sort of bogged down with that a little bit too much. So, yeah, I'm going to get out of the way in Game Week 1. This first draft, I've got the same core players probably in, all my thinking at the moment. So, for me, Bruno Fernandes, João Pedro, an Arsenal defender, and Isak will be in, pretty much guaranteed in my Game Week 1 team. And then I'm just sort of working the pieces around that, in order to, just sort of get the best mixture of, players that are going to have a good impact in the first few weeks, because I am planning an early wild card, and a few sort of, players you can rely on, I think is probably the best way to describe it. So in this draft, Haaland is in. Now, he is someone that I'm really debating at the moment, as you'll see with my second draft. I think it's very expensive at 15.5 million. There's obviously always the chance that he's going to score loads of goals like he usually does at the start of the season, but just seeing City in the Community Shield, they've only all just come back into pre-season. That was their first game for quite a few of their players. New manager under Maresca, it doesn't mean they're going to definitely hit the ground running just because they're Man City. And I think when you see sort of the second draft I'm going to show you in a moment, you can get a really, really balanced team with lots of very good players in all positions. And I'm just thinking, just for the first 2 weeks, just go against Haaland. If it's a disaster, I can always wildcard. I can free hit him in for game week 3 when they play Coventry. I'm just sort of just weighing up that risk at the moment. And I think for 2 weeks, it can't go too wrong. You wouldn't have thought so. So he is in this draft. It does mean I've got to have quite a cheap midfield. So the likes of Gross, who I think is just okay at 5.5 million. He's not going to score a huge amount of points. He's the kind of player that's going to tick over most weeks. Long-term kind of pick. I've got a couple of the 6 million midfielders. I mean, it's probably the spot I'm most undecided on at the moment. I'm gone back and forth between so many players. I thought I'd just put a couple of more interesting ones in there just for this draft. In Ahmad and Kluivert. I think they're sort of two players that are not really been spoken about much. I think Ahmad should start the season for United until Sesko's up to fitness. Cunha's only just come back to pre-season as well. He hasn't had a lot of minutes. So I can see him, playing at least the first 2 anyway against the newly promoted teams. And then Kluivert's back from his injury at the end of last season. He was really good 2 seasons ago. Probably on penalties for Bournemouth. And obviously with Krupi being injured for a few months, he's likely going to get very good minutes. Probably playing in the number 10 position, just off the striker. And from all reports, Bournemouth are still very attacking under the new manager. So I just think City maybe not quite ready for the new season. Didn't look very good defensively, especially with no Rodri there and no sort of real natural sitting midfielder. Just think there could be some chances and goals for Bournemouth, and Kluivert's, I think, she's been a little bit overlooked at the moment. I've got Gomez in there from Brighton at 5 million. I think he's a nice enabler. He started the Conference League game and played about an hour, so should be ready for game week 1. I've also got the likes of O'Neill in there at 4 million. Should start the first game by the looks of it, but maybe will be, no use after that. But I just need him for that game week 1 bench boost. And then he can sit there and do nothing for me. Trey Hume for a double Sunderland defence. Looks like he could potentially play right wing in the first game. Just depending on players coming back from injury, the likes of Mukiele and Alderete. And he's played there quite a bit in pre-season. Harry Maguire, really like, obviously, United's fixtures, and I think he's, the standout defender there. Good for DEFCON. I think he hit it in about 50% of the games he played under Carrick. And obviously always a threat at set pieces. And obviously the double Arsenal defence. For me, Calafiori, definite lock for me for game week 1. really attacking. I've had him in pretty much since the first draft, but obviously seeing him score in the Community Shield as well, that just solidified it for me that he's the most exciting of the Arsenal defenders. Maybe not a long-term pick with the likes of Hincapié there, but I think he should be good up until the Champions League starts for them. And then I've gone for Ben White as the second Arsenal defender. Again, probably not a long-term pick once Timber's back, but I think he should be good for the first few weeks. Concert could also play there as well when he comes in. And then the two goalkeepers, just the best of the 4.5s, really, in Verbruggen and Kinski. I'm just not going to overthink that position because it's just, for me, unless you're going to spend the money and get Raya, I'm just not sure any of the other keepers are worth the extra money at this moment in time until we get a bit more information and can wildcard a little bit later into the season. And then Bruno Fernandes, obviously, for me, absolute lock. Captain game week 1 and 2. Just for me, much better chance of good score up against Hull rather than Haaland. So that's why I'm going with him for captaincy. But yeah, there's probably a little bit of compromise here with Haaland. But if we have a look at the second draft, you'll see, we can fit in a few more sort of higher level players when we drop Haaland. So looking at draft number 2, it's basically just 4 changes from the previous one. So I would drop Haaland down to Havertz for Coventry at home. I think he's going to start the season as the number 9. I think he's Arteta's favourite, and he's always one of them. When he is fit and he does get a good run in the team, he's always capable of scoring goals. I think newly promoted side at home. It's going to be another sort of celebration of the league win in a way. So yeah, we saw him score in the Community Shield. He looked ready. So quite low owned as well, Havertz at the moment. So I think it'd be a nice little differential to take advantage of that fixture. Then Gibbs White, he's someone I would really like to have in my Game Week 1 team. He just would be the sacrifice if I did end up going for Haaland. He had such a good second half to last year, and I did actually call him out in a video and said I felt that he was going to have a really good second half of the season just after I'd watched a couple of their games. And I ended up talking myself out of getting him in. I ended up getting him Bumo and kept him for about 10 weeks and got nothing out of him. Whereas Gibbs White went on to score, I don't know how many goals, loads of points. It was probably the biggest turning point of my season last year. So I think Leeds at home, it's a good fixture. He's playing, as a number 10, close to the striker. It's a Glasner system. So, there should be some quick counters and some good chances for him to get in the box and, get another good goal tally this season. And I think missing out, obviously, on the World Cup squad, he's had the full pre-season. He's going to be really wanting to prove everyone wrong and get himself a move to a bigger club next season. So, yeah, I think for me, he's probably my sort of 4th or 5th pick that I'd really like in my Game Week 1 team. And at the minute, I am leaning toward this no Haaland draft, so he's probably going to be in for me. I'd also bring in O'Reilly, obviously with the extra budget. Just so attacking in that Community Shield game. He was almost up front at times in the box with Haaland, trying to get on the end of crosses. We've seen him do it a lot last season. Maresca likes to have one of the fullbacks sort of push into midfield and then, push well up into attack. Saw a little bit with Cucurella when he was at Chelsea. He would get really far forward. So I think if he keeps getting in those positions, we've seen before he can definitely score a few goals. So yeah, I just think that's a little bit of a, real attacking gamble there. And maybe, City have got quality players. Maybe they can keep some clean sheets. Certainly would want at least 2 City players for Game Week 3 against Coventry. So maybe if I just get him in now, then he's there ready. And obviously there's always a chance of attack and returns or a clean sheet here and there in the first 2. So yeah, really like O'Reilly, and he would be in if, in this draft. Obviously the extra budget would also allow me to have Gabriel in place of White. Obviously a lot more than the other Arsenal defenders at 8 million. But we saw last year, he's always in the bonus, good chance of DEFCON, really big threat at set pieces. So I think for what is, probably a sort of 2 to 5 week team, just being able to fit Gabriel in instead of the likes of Mascara or White. Obviously, unless he's injured, he's probably going to play every game. So, yeah, I just think that for me is a nice little differential on a lot of people. And it's obviously always fun to see, them attacking set pieces if you actually own Gabriel. So, yeah, Gabriel would be in for me. So I think, when you look at it overall, we're looking at Gabriel, O'Reilly, Gibbs White, and Havertz. And that would be up against '09, Ben White, Pascal Gross, and Haaland. So I think in both situations, if you're playing the bench boost, it's just, the quality there is a big step up for the four without Haaland. So, yeah, I am leaning in that direction. I'd also have 500,000 in the bank with that non-Haaland draft. So I could potentially upgrade one of my keepers if I wanted to. I was looking at Dan Ballard at Sunderland, maybe instead of Hume. Could even, make an adjustment somewhere in midfield, maybe Gross instead of Gomez if I wanted. There's quite a bit of possibilities there. So, as I said, I'm not really settled on those 6 million midfielders. Just thought Ahmad and Clivert were more exciting options. Could look at the likes of Hinshelwood at Brighton. I do like Emi Buendia, probably on penalties for Villa, maybe. So he could be an interesting one. Just not too keen on Aston Villa for the first few weeks of the season. Obviously, losing a lot of players. And that is why I do like Brighton for the first game. Probably up against, quite a depleted Villa team. So, yeah, I think there's quite a few options in that spot as well. That's going to be probably my biggest headache, I think, before the deadline. And like I said, bench boost, I'm pretty certain game week 1, I'm just going to get out of the way. I think I like both these drafts, really. So either way, that'll be the play, I think. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.